citing $50 million loss. Hofer explains 5 mistakes Shedeur and Deion Sanders made that led to draft fall. The drafts are over, and after a challenging 3 days that even included a prank call, Shedeur Sanders finally has a team. But while he might dance with the fam and celebrate his signing with a lavish party, people around the community are divided on his overall prospects. Shedeur joins an all-star QB room with Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Dylan Gabriel. But is everybody on board with Coach Prime's son joining the Cleveland Browns? The drafts are over, and after a challenging 3 days that even included a prank call, Shedeur Sanders finally has a team. But while he might dance with the fam and celebrate his signing with a lavish party, people around the community are divided on his overall prospects. Shedeur joins an all-star QB room with Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Dylan Gabriel. But is everybody on board with Coach Prime's son joining the Cleveland Browns? Patrick Mahomes seen celebrating in first public appearance. NFL analysts like Greg Cosell believe that while Shedeur certainly has talents, there are a lot of gaps in his plays that need to be polished, whereas a QB like Dylan Gabriel might just be the #1 choice for QB1 for HC Kevin Stefanski a few years down the line. There's also the viral clip making rounds on socials of the moment when Sanders' name was called, with some hinting that owner Jimmy Haslam made the call to sign Sanders, and the rest of the crew was not at all happy with the decision. Adding to the calls mounting against Shedeur, NFL Hall of Famer Chris Carter believes there are many reasons why Sanders didn't get drafted earlier and why his draft stock sank like a lead balloon. Chris Carter took to the Fully Loaded podcast hosted by Sean Mayike recently and explained Sanders' fall with great details and emotion. He said, "The #1 thing that didn't happen was there was not a collusion message with the NFL owners. While speculations were abound for which team Sanders would go to, nobody from any front office went out of their way before the drafts to make it known they wanted the guy." Carter further adds, Shedeur and his family, they overplayed their hand. Them thinking that he was in the same evaluation mode as Eli Manning, they didn't play that right. Them trying to narrow the teams that he was going to go to, not working out the combine. His interview process, obviously, he could have done a lot better in that. A lot of people left that meeting, felt he was very, very entitled. Coach Prime Deion Sanders had singled out the New Orleans Saints as a potential good fit for his son at a presser. Notably, Shedeur's legendary shelf also had only 20 team caps, not the whole 32 NFL squads. And in one of his interviews, he had also said, "If you're not trying to change the franchise or culture, don't get me." And that led to a lot of negativity. Carter's entitled comment is only one of the many that made the rounds after this. Sean even remembers the Giants' HC Brian Daboll not liking his meeting with Shedeur. And if you think that's all there is to it, boy, does Chris Carter have more words for you. Shedeur Sanders, legendary or not? On the Fully Loaded podcast, Chris Carter explained what has hurt Shedeur Sanders' prospects the most. He doesn't have a big-time arm. He's not a big guy. He's not overly athletic. So his measurables are not, say, first-round measurables. But he played football like a first round. These are things that multiple analysts have also pointed out recently. Carter further adds, "Well, you don't play football all the time. You're a human being the rest of the time, and how you're going to be in the locker room." How he already came up with this line of merchandise, legendary. All those things are problems. Shedeur has built up quite the hype with the legendary stint, and his social media activity has also amassed a lot of followers. Deion Sanders' active role as an agent for Shedeur has, for a lot of people, hurt his prospects as a QB candidate. Coach Prime's name and influence helped him making money in college, but it actually hurt him as far as getting a job as an NFL quarterback. Through all of this, Chris Carter believes Sanders threw away at least $30 to $50 million, hurting his own draft prospects. But it's not all bad for Shedeur. He is grateful for the opportunity the Browns have given him. And he's even getting shout-outs from players like David Njoku. How Kevin Stefanski preps and polishes him for the years ahead will attract a lot of attention going forward. But Shedeur is ready to have the chance to prove his haters wrong. With all the negativity he's attracting, and with some support from his team, Shedeur Sanders now has the chance to turn things around. He can show people why many believed him to be a late first-round or early second-round pick in the drafts. He has some prime names like Watson, Flacco, and Pickett to learn from. How he makes the best of the opportunity the Browns have offered him, is the only thing that remains to be seen now. NFL rumors. Deshaun Watson responsible for Browns trading second overall pick to Jaguars. Money isn't everything, until it's the only thing. You don't trade a yacht to buy a dinghy unless you're drowning. And in Cleveland, the Browns aren't just drowning financially. They're doing cannonballs into the abyss. The 2025 NFL Draft was supposed to be Cleveland's redemption arc. Instead, they traded the number 2 pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a bag of magic beans and a Watson prayer. They needed to reset and rebuild the guts of the roster. Albert Breer told Rich Eisen, trying to put a polite spin on it. But let's be real. This was a white flag dipped in Baker Mayfield's leftover dog-pound tears. Why? Blame Deshaun Watson's $230 million anchor, a contract so toxic it makes Love Island breakups look wholesome. Let's rewind. In 2022, the Browns bet the farm on Watson, shipping 3 first-rounders to the Houston Texans for a quarterback whose Achilles tendons now have the durability of wet paper towels. Fast forward. Watson's played 12 games in 3 years, and his cap hit, $36.9 million in 2025, strangles Cleveland's roster like a boa constrictor in a turtleneck. Cleveland's move says, "We're not a player away," Breer admitted. They needed to reset. Translation: Watson's deal left them aging, broke, and desperate. They had to prioritize getting multiple players for gap positions over landing the brightest available prospects. Trading down from number 2 to number 5? That's not strategy, it's survival. The Browns snagged Mason Graham, DT, Michigan, at number 5 and picked up a 2026 first-rounder for their trouble. They also grabbed Carson Seesinger, CB, and Quinton Judkins, RB, early in the second round, all solid players. But in the words of Eisen, you don't throw a challenge flag and overturn the first 13 picks. The damage was already done. Meanwhile, the Jaguars were lurking like hyenas. They pounced on Travis Hunter, the two-way unicorn from Colorado, pairing him with Trevor Lawrence to create nightmare fuel for AFC defenses. Jacksonville's betting on what they've built, Breer said, comparing the move to the Los Angeles Rams' old all-in trades. Except, as Breer dryly noted, the Rams already had a history of winning. For the Jaguars, this is Glory Days vibes. For Cleveland, Groundhog Day, with less Bill Murray and more Myles Garrett side-eyeing the quarterback room. Cleveland's QB carousel, from Watson to Shedeur Sanders? Let's talk QB chaos. Watson's latest Achilles snap means Kenny Pickett, fully aware of reports that the Browns aren't interested in picking up his 5th-year rookie contract option for 2026, is now QB1. Behind him, Joe Flacco, Grandpa Chic, Shedeur Sanders, the 5th-round pick who somehow out-earned Watson in college via $6.5 million in nil deals, and Dylan Gabriel, who turned heads mostly for being picked ahead of Sanders. Shedeur's impressed early, insiders whisper, but let's not kid ourselves. This isn't a competition. It's a Hunger Games reboot where everyone's armed with a clipboard. Meanwhile, Watson's ghost haunts the facility, his contract sucking the air out of the room like a Dyson vacuum. The irony? Cleveland's 2024 draft haul, including Judkins and Dylan Sampson, RB, Tennessee, feels like stocking a minibar while the house burns down. But hey, at least they're fun on Twitter. Cleveland's brass will swear this is a strategic reset. Translation: they're kicking the can to 2026, hoping Watson's $60 million insurance payout and a loaded 26 QB class. Arch Manning, anyone, save them. Maybe Shedeur becomes the next Tom Brady. Maybe Watson heals like Wolverine. Or maybe Cleveland remains the NFL's favorite cautionary tale, a $230 million reminder that money talks, but trophies walk. This isn't tragedy. It's content. And in Cleveland, the content's spicy.